Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially over. The World Series hopes we held for this Philadelphia Phillies team has officially been crushed by the New York Mets in about as heartbreaking fashion as we could possibly hope for. Not only is it to the Mets, but the way that this went down for this Phillies team could not be more disappointed. But me and Luke Arcaini are here to break down exactly what went wrong. I did drop my initial rant with the video "It's Over" title, really giving my feelings on why I think this should be a pretty telling victory for this era of Phillies baseball. But Luke, I want to bring you into the conversation here. And my first question that I have for you, who is most to blame for this loss in this series?
It's the offense. There is legitimately there's a lot of things in this world that you can have a take on. There's no take there. It's the offense.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. I mean, I think 5 through 9 had like 6 combined hits the entire series.
Yeah.
It just can't happen. And you have the people that kind of go and they talk about, they weren't consistent the last, 3 months, and this team was never built to win a World Series, offense, blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is, if you get to this stage and you go up against a team like the Mets, who has been your all-time rival, and even after 2 years of versing the Braves, there's not a rivalry in baseball that's more heated than Phillies Mets. And you go out there and you just do that against a team like that. It's just really frustrating.
Yeah.
And it starts with the offense. Guys like Alec Boehm, who had an unbelievable start to his season and then just looked like an absolute head case in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Guys like JT Realmuto, who is definitely past the whole BCIB thing, if you didn't already know.
For sure.
Just bad at bats from Marsh, bad at bats from whoever was hitting in this lineup, bad at bats from Trey, bad at bats from Bryce. Bryce had his moments, but Bryce also had his really bad moments. So it's just frustrating. You can't have an offense that goes out in a series, and if you take away the game that they won, they scored 5 runs in 3 games that they lost. It just can't happen.
Yeah. And to take you one step further here, the Phillies were up 3-2 in the NLCS last year. Since then, they have lost 5 of 6 playoff games. They've scored a total of 8 runs in those 5 losses.
Disgusting.
You just can't win when you're producing like that. And especially when you factor in this Phillies team specifically is built around the offense. That is the concept behind this team. It is to mash home runs. It is to have all these big-time hitters at the plates, fitting the Nick Castellanos, the Kyle Schwarbers, the Bryce Harpers in the lineup. That is how this team was constructed. Yes, the pitching is nice. Yes, the bullpen is nice. We can have conversations about each of those things. There's blame to go around everywhere, but you're absolutely right that when you hit like that you just can't win. And shout out to Ranger Suarez, man, for absolutely delivering.
A warrior.
This dude, yeah, he is a warrior. 4 1/3, absolutely scoreless, pitched through a ton of jams, including ones that Alec Boehm left him out to dry with that should have been easy routine plays for your satisfactory third baseman that he wasn't able to pull up to. Ranger ultimately now is 4th all-time in postseason ERA on 1.43. Absurd stuff. A dude that we had concerns with the dead arm for really the second half of the season, he just gutted it out. I didn't even think his stuff was that overly special today. The curveball looked really good. I was impressed with that. But he just found a way to get the job done. So shout out to Ranger. And the same conversation could be had in that Wheeler game. You're just letting your pitcher down when you don't deliver runs like that.
The same conversation could be had for every game.
Yeah,
you
right.
didn't get your best from Nola, but he battled.
Yeah.
You didn't get your best from Sanchez, but he battled. And I really want to go real quick, like inning by inning through this Ranger thing, right? He gets a big strikeout of Lindor to start the night. Mark Viento is probably the hottest hitter on planet Earth. Rips a double off of him. Nimmo walks. Then Alonso reaches on the infield single that should have been an out, right?
Yeah.
And then what? That's bases loaded now. First inning, like Ranger hasn't looked great. Then he goes strikeout, battles through the first, comes out in the second, walks single, right? 2 on, strikeout, another infield single, and gets out of it again. You go to the third, 1, 2, 3, or not technically 1, 2, 3, but you walk Alonso, you strike out Iglesias, and then you roll an awesome double play. And then you go to the fourth, 1, 2, 3. And then you go to the fifth, double walk, but he gets a big strikeout for Brandon Nimmo. The goal of tonight for Ranger was to get through Brandon Nimmo twice, because you go at Nimmo with the lefty. That was really their goal all night. And Ranger did that. I mean, not a lot of people had a lot of confidence in Ranger because of these last few months. Dude battled his butt off tonight, man. And it just sucks because you got 4 pretty darn good starts from Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez this entire series, and the offense gives you nothing.
Yeah.
They give you absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think we all kind of took this Phillies team, I don't want to say for granted to an extent, but they had that fun run, that unexpected World Series run, and it was always, well, they're going to get back. Well, now they're facing some hard questions to look in the mirror because it's not as easy as that. The rest of the MLB gets better every year also. And Luke, I think that they're looking down some pretty significant decisions within this franchise. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves with that conversation, but do you think it's fair to assess that there's more to take away from this series than just you came up short, that was the better team?
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was. You came
Sure.
up short, and the Mets just ran laps around you. They out hustled you. They outplayed you. I mean, they wanted it more.
Yeah.
That's really the bottom line. They absolutely wanted it more. And the frustrating thing is, like you said, you don't know what the future looks like. You don't know what the future looks like for Bohm. You don't know what it looks like for Marsh. You don't know what it looks like for Rojas. You don't know what it looks like for JT.
Yeah.
Like, JT's a great dude, but like
He didn't
that
have a
decline's
hit.
happening fast. That decline is happening fast. And guys like Stott, like I think Stott will be back, but you just don't know the future of these guys that are really on the fringe. You have to change something. Something has to change, whether it's a hitting coach, whether it's a manager, whether it's just players. So I don't know. This team's going to look a lot different, and they had 3 really good chances the last 3 years, and they just blew it.
Yeah.
They just flat out blew it. And I don't want to put 22 in that category because they didn't blow it that
Astros
year.
were good.
They shouldn't have been there. They got there. They caught fire, and they just came up short to a team that was better than them. The Astros were better than them. But the last 2 years were just failure.
Diamondbacks, not the case. Yeah.
Just utter failure from both teams, from both rosters. Your deadline move can't be Austin Hayes. Like, it just can't be the guy that looks like he can't even crack a double-A roster right now.
Yeah. And your other one was the guy who led up the grand slam to lose this game.
I mean, 99 middle to freaking Francisco Lindor, who was bound to have his moment. Like, that moment was written on the walls for the last 5 days. You knew it was coming because it was everybody else the first 3 games. It was Alonso, it was Vientos, it was Winker, it was Nimmo. And you just knew that the Lindor moment was coming. And the second that he stepped to the plate, it just felt like a grand slam.
Yep.
It just did. And I'm not the guy to be like, this game is over here. But before he even saw a pitch, the game felt over to me. I don't know. There's going to be some tough decisions to make, and I don't know. I don't want to say it's the end of an era because I think the era really starts with the core, and I think the core is still the veterans. But I think this era is going to flip upside down the next year.
Yeah, and Luke and I are going to dive into each decision that needs to be made. We're going to go player by player with the significant core, the Alec Bohms, the Bryson Stotts, the Brandon Marsh, the guys that seem like movable pieces. If I do know one thing, it's that Middleton wants a ring and is willing to pay for it. He wants his trophy back, and I do expect this Phillies team to be heavily linked to a lot of big names this summer. So there's a lot coming in store.
I also just hope that he's willing to pay for it at the deadline, though.
Sure.
Like,
yes.
There's 2 times where you have to pay to win a championship, and it's not just the offseason. So I really hope he starts to treat the deadline like he treats the offseason. He's had 2 really good off seasons these last 2 years. It's now about what you do in this third off season now of this playoff run and what you do for next year.
Yeah. So frustrating moments. Me and Luke are doing this end of season video a little sooner than I think we planned or hoped to, but ultimately, it's how the cards fall. So we're going to be here for an entire offseason of content. As I mentioned, we'll be breaking down exactly what decisions need to be made about each of these players currently on roster and everything that breaks as far as players that are being targeted outside the organization. So appreciate each and every one of you guys for rocking with us for year one here on Phillies Digest. Again, we're not going anywhere. We'll have new videos out just about every day. So make sure you're locking in, smashing that subscribe button if you haven't already, dropping a like on this video, and me and Luke will be talking with you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.